Hi, I'm Chip Denton, the head of Trinity School, and I'm here with Jim and Karen Lamont here at the beginning of our 25th year as a school. And we're going back to the founding of Trinity. Really glad that Jim and Karen can be with us here today to talk about. Jim, you and Karen were involved in the school from the beginning. How did you get involved in Trinity School, and how did it get started?
Well, I basically listened to my wife and went to the meeting that she directed me to attend with you. So
that's a good policy.
It was didn't at that time had no expectation of how long this was going to go or what it was going to involve. But I showed up for the appointed meeting and we're glad to be involved. We're glad that God orchestrated the whole process, the whole founding, everything. So
yeah.
It was just pretty exciting.
Well, I have a little different memory. I think, Chip, you called me and said, because I had been a teacher,
Yep.
We'd like you to be on like this meeting. And I said, oh, Chip, you don't need another educator. You need someone with a business mind and a business sense, and you need Jim, who knew nothing about education. And that's when I told him, you need to go.
He had been educated.
He had been
right?
educated.
Yes.
He was quite educated.
Educated enough.
He was not an educator.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. That was, I think, one of the things about the group that got together was we had educators on there, but we also had people like Jim who were planners and doers and folks who were going to make things happen. And that was that combination that was really a blessing from God, don't you think?
It was. It really was. In many ways, it was frustrating. We're trying to figure out the steps, trying to find where's God really taking this.
Yeah.
We take some good steps, some bad steps. We back up. In hindsight, 25 years later, it was really pretty exciting.
Yeah.
When you're just trying to figure out what God's doing. Sometimes we listen clearly, and it's pretty easy to take those steps. And sometimes we fumble and have a hard time giving way on what we think maybe this is what it's supposed to be. But it all worked out. That worked out very well.
Yeah. Jim, can you tell us how Trinity first found the place where it started?
Well, it was just again, it was a pretty quick decision in March, I believe it was, of whatever year that was, 25 years.
1995.
95. Yeah. So it was, are we going to do this or are we not? And whatever my sense, and I think it was a consensus, was whatever we started, we knew it would be better the next year and would be better the following year. And some of us just felt the first step, we just had to take that first step. So it was a matter of finding a location, and I think I had heard, I can't recall who, I was doing a search around the general area of property and locations and meeting with churches and this sort of places, and then heard of one more opportunity.
You're just driving up and down Irwin Road.
Well,
that take a lot.
Somebody cued me in on it, so I took off during lunch and ran over to Irwin Road and walked in and met Joe Voschel, the pastor at New Hope Church. And interestingly, the night before, he had a meeting with his elder board, and they had turned down his request to host to have a kindergarten at the school, preschool, and he had wanted to have that. And I walked in the door the next day with the proposal of, would you consider an outside group? We would run it. You wouldn't need to run it.
Yeah.
And we needed some additional space, but Joe was a doer and like, well, we can build that. Over the summer, we can add some more classrooms on, and that's how we got our toehold.
Yep.
And it was very quickly as well that we started bringing in modular units, which we still have today. So.
Right. Yeah, that first modular unit that housed our second and third grade combination class. Yeah, that was the first building project of Trinity. Yeah.
It was.
Yep. And Karen, what's an early memory that you have of the school?
Well, it was getting those teachers.
Yeah.
We're thinking, did we even have students besides our own children?
Yeah.
Is who's going to teach? I mean, certainly it wasn't going to be those of us on the kind of background committee or whatever we called ourselves. And I think it was Nancy Brooks that gave us Rita Davis's name, who was a well thought of Orange County teacher. Karen Sickink, Gay Lyles. So that was sort of my emphasis was who's going to teach our children, and then not only where will they be, but what will they sit on? You know, it's all the practical. How are we going to get a bulletin board? I mean, we had no
Oh
money.
yeah, how do we get the furniture? What do
The furniture was lots of surplus places. UNC has a great place, Duke, and I don't know what the place was in Raleigh, but we got a truckload.
I think it was Wake County Department of Education had a warehouse coming by the truckload, and we just went over like Christmas morning and for $100
this is
filled a truck of old desks and chairs.
Internet. It's not like we got on Google and
Right.
said, where can we buy surplus school furniture? And there was a lot of stripping furniture and painting, and I can't say it was fabulous, but it was pretty
got it
good.
done.
Yep.
A lot of work days out there with
It
parents
was.
and everybody pitching in, and
It was, and it was a real bonding time for us as a family with the other families. I mean, I still to this day look back and say those were really sweet times. It was hard, but it was. It was.
Yeah, very, very solid friendships were made, and as we all worked.
Yeah. Well, you all have continued to be involved in the school over the years, and I've appreciated that. And Jim, you're serving on the board again. Thank you for that. And I wanted to ask you why Trinity, you think the Trinity is still important to this community, or why is a school like Trinity important?
Well, it's offering a different form of education that you're not going to find in the Durham, Chapel Hill area. It's a different. I look at it as a different piece in the evangelical foundation of the community. We all have different churches that we go to and different organizations outside of church, but Trinity is pretty unique in bringing a broad base of people from around the community that are interested in serving their children and being educated properly. But it's a really distinct community, which I think it strengthens the Christian community in this area.
You know, there are plenty of independent schools in our greater area, but Trinity, not only to Christian families, but even the unchurched families out there, I think are looking for something with real meat to it. And then throw in the classical way to educate is important.
Yeah.
Chip, I mean, celebrating 25 years is great, and I think what God has done in that. But a real challenge for today's parents is think the next 25 years.
Absolutely.
And what does that look like? We could not have imagined 25 years ago what we would have today. We were praying that it would be fruitful. We were praying it would be productive, and it has been. And then the question is, what are those next steps? I mean, it might not be just finding a new location. We can't guess what they are.
Yeah.
But there's a lot yet to be done if we want to sustain what's here and fulfill what I think is God's mission for the school.
Yeah. That's so well put. I think that's true. Do you think of 25 years as a generation? We are entering the second generation of Trinity School, and I think the three of us are thinking about who are we handing that baton off to, and will they take it, and will they continue that? And so I'm glad that our parents and friends of the school and the new generation of prospective parents can watch this video and hear your story, and it is an invitation
It
is.
Come and join this effort. And I want to thank you all for what you have done to make Trinity School possible, and you and many people like you. The school wouldn't be here without your leadership, your generosity, and believing in the vision and the mission. So thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks
Jim.
for joining
Thank
me
you.
today.
It's a pleasure.
Non nobis.